How you guys doing? We got Big John Yeubanks here with Big John MMA. Just gonna have a little conversation here, chit chat, see what the guys got going on. We got a big fight here this weekend in Sault Ste. Marie at the Queen Casino. Obviously, he's had a couple here before with lots of good shows. So, just want to chat. Thanks for having you on today.
Thanks for having me, man.
One of the first questions, we'll just sit here and BS a little bit. How did you really get started? How did you get into the MMA and wanting to be a promoter and doing what you're doing? Because, there's so many people. It's such a watered-down market where a lot of people do it, and you're one of them guys that comes out and puts on a great show every night, everywhere you go. You're always fighting to a packed house. How'd you do it? I mean, how'd you get into it? What really drives you to do it?
Man, it took a long, long time, man. The way it started was we had a gym in northern Michigan, and it was a buddy of mine that had got me into it. I was a fan originally, and then I had a friend who fought, and he had to travel 3-4 hours, downstate to Detroit. Back then, there wasn't a whole lot of places to train for mixed martial arts, so. We get tired of that and spending the money, and we decided, we're just going to start our own gym. And that's when we started the gym, and then we started traveling around the state with a tough group of guys, and it just kind of grew into, we need to try a show. And so we tried it in our hometown first and sold it out, man, and I was hooked ever since, and that was probably going on just about 10 years ago, I think, man, so,
Sitting around with your boys, 10 years ago, I can kind of relate with the hockey and everything like that. You sit around with your fellas in the summer and have a few beers and talk about, this would be great if it worked out and stuff like that. What was really your guys' game plan? Did you really have plans on becoming as big as you are? And you guys are basically right now the most dominant circuit in Michigan and tapping into Ontario and stuff like that. Has it become bigger than what you guys really planned on, or is this everything that you always planned on in the start?
I didn't know we were that big until you just said that, actually. No, when we started out in Michigan, years back, it was really, really, really. There's some dirtiness to the fight game now, but back then it was really bad, man. You'd have a lot of mismatches, you just have unsafe fights, unsafe venues, unsafe cages. Hell, back in the day, I remember they'd line you up against the wall and they'd say, okay, you and you, you and you're fighting, that was the coach in us that said, all right, man, we just want to put on a good show, man. We just want to put on a good show that we know our guys don't have to worry about that crap. We know they're going to get good fights. Everything's good, and we pay for the gym on top of it, So, we had no idea, until we got into it. And then, through, funny enough, through the dirtiness of the game, it kind of, we had a lot of guys that didn't exactly care for us doing shows. So we gave them we're going to do it anyways. And that kind of, every time we got to that plateau, there was another guy that wanted to try us. So, through competition with other mixed martial arts companies, we've kind of, I don't want to say they pissed us off enough to kind of get big enough, but it started the ball rolling.
Man. Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that. One of my next questions was how do you, with so many out there and so many guys like that and so many companies that are trying to come in and one-up you or say they got a better program and stuff like that. And like you said, you go to some venues that, you're fighting in a chicken cage and you got people throwing glass bottles and stuff like that. Going through all that, how did you and your buddies really step there and say, this isn't how we're doing it. This isn't the kind of program we're putting out. We're going to put out a legit good program. We're going to have some good fighters. We're going to put on some good shows. And you guys, like I said, in the Michigan area, you guys have become one of the biggest ones. Everybody that's in MMA knows Big John and everything like that and knows how that stuff goes. So how have you really gotten to that point where, you really said that you're not going to be one of them dirt shows and with the cheap fights and everything like that? How did you get into that? How did you set yourself apart from there?
Well, we were that team that was traveling from show to show before we started doing shows. So the nice thing about it is we were able to go around and say, this ain't right, man. These kids, and there's a lot of guys that weren't with us that we'd see and we'd say, holy crap, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. Did you see that crap?
What are you doing?
30 pounds differences. And, so it really came down to me and my partner at the time, Joe, just said, you know what, dude, we just want to do a show. We want to treat these guys how we would want to be treated. Bottom line, you know what I mean?
Easiest
And
way to do
that's the easy, and that philosophy, man. I mean, I'm a very real, very humble cat. You know, I to this day, you know, I'll sit and talk to anybody, man. You know what I mean?
For
So,
sure.
you know, that philosophy has really gotten me a long way. Is, you know, just do people how you would want to be done,
Grassroots.
and that's it, man. I mean, you be fair to everybody, and that's really what's amazingly enough. That's really what's gotten us to the point
And
we're at.
I think I mean, you know, you hit it right on the
Yeah.
head there, because you know our generation nowadays, that's what people want. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to have good, comfortable fighters. They don't want to go into some small town in
Mm-hmm.
Michigan or some small town in northern Ontario and you're fighting in a chicken shack and
That's
getting
right,
dressed
man.
outside. You know,
That's
people
right.
don't want to do that. So when you guys can put on that kind of program,
Well, and
you know, that's what it's all about.
That's really helped mixed martial arts, at least in Michigan, help clean up the act. It wasn't regulation; we haven't had that yet. But what it was social media.
Yeah.
And media really, really,
Word of
really
mouth.
cleaned it up, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, back in the day when there was a shiesty promoter, it'd take months to get the word out, man.
Yep.
But now it's one post on
It's
Facebook,
one
bro.
post, Yeah,
You know?
definitely. And, with
And you're
that,
only as good as your last show, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
as a promoter, you know, we're always striving to be better and better, and we know we don't want to have that night to where we have 20 people online talking crap, you know?
Yep. No, you never want that.
You
Like
know?
you said, it's
We
that
don't need
social
it, man.
media. It'll take
No
you out.
way.
So how do you go about, like, you know, with your finding your fighters like Adrian and these guys that are kind of coming from smaller areas and smaller markets? I mean, is it you that signs them? Do you have like somewhat of, you know, assistant coaches and stuff that go out there and find these guys, or, you know, are you the, you know, the last stop? Is the buck stop with you? How do you do that stuff?
Well, a lot of times I've made a ton of great relationships with guys because we started. You got to know where we started. We started as a amateur mixed martial arts company. We grinded. We paid our dues for years and years and years. I mean, when other companies was coming to town, like this used to be King of the Cage doing this show.
Yeah. Back in the day, I remember
when
that.
King of the Cage used to come to town, they would call me and they'd say, "John, I need fighters, match make the card, whatever, blah, blah, blah." So we would come and we'd work for these companies. They'd subcontract us to put together the cards and, you know, put stuff, reports of the show together for them. And basically we just, you know, it got to a point to where we just, you know, enough doing it for the other people. We're gonna do it for us. We're gonna grow ourselves. And
Yeah.
they went away, and you know, we never thought we'd be doing Kuwait, and we never thought we would be doing these other casinos. We never thought it would get to this level. You know, we just wanted to have a great time and have a good spot for our people, and it's just growing and growing, and you know, we're excited. I kind of got off beat from the.
Oh, no, I know. Hey, you're right on there,
You
man.
know,
It's all right.
but I mean,
It's all right.
you
It's
know,
excellent to see.
It's where we're, you know, it's just, we worked so hard to get to where we're at, man. It's so exciting, and this is just scratching the surface. I mean, you say
Yeah.
we're at the top of the thing, but we're just getting started, bro. You
Definitely.
know, and we're not, you know, we weren't a company that was born out of a silver spoon in our mouth or
Hard work, Northern
anything
Michigan
like that,
boys,
bro,
that's where
man.
we
You
came
know,
from,
that's
you
it.
know?
We had to
Hard
get out
work.
there. You know, we got out there and
Born and
grinded
raised
with the
like
guys
that.
in Detroit. You
Yep.
know, we went out there and competed with the guys in Grand Rapids and all
Yep.
over, and you know, so that's we scratched and clawed our way here, man. And,
Well, that's a
and-
lot why, you know, a lot of people that are going to be able to see this where we can relate, you know, with my coaching and everything like that. We always had to go downstate and play those Detroit
There you
kids
go,
and
man. That's
play the
right.
rich inner city boys
That's
and everything like that. And
Yeah.
being from our area and for people to be able to see how big you guys are becoming on a market and stuff like that. And with that being said, I mean, what's your main goal and everything? I mean, are you looking to take Big Johns nationally? I mean, are you somebody that wants to be fighting in Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin,
Absolutely.
everywhere? What's your
Yeah.
game plan?
Now that it, you know, when we first started it, again, it was a hobby. It was a, you know, let's just give a good place for our guys. But we all had careers at the time too.
Yeah.
You know, like at the time I owned, when we started, I owned 3 car lots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
got rid of those, and now I'm full time in mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
So, you know, my whole life's into mixed martial arts now,
Yeah.
man. It used to be, like I said, it was a side thing, and then we just grew it into a full time company, and it's just been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So of course the next step. And we're not done in Michigan. I mean, what we're looking to do is take it to the next level in Michigan and then branch out from
Yeah.
there. And we do have some opportunities. We've had some calls to maybe do a show in Chicago and I
some
think
bigger
Minnesota
markets. Yeah.
and a few different places, you know. But so yeah, it's coming. I don't want to give too much of that away, but
Yeah.
it's coming, man.
Well, that's good
we're
to hear.
coming.
It's good to hear.
Just know that.
It's good to
Other
hear.
MMA companies, if you don't like it, I don't care. We're coming, okay? So just holler at me. We'll work it out, all right?
That's what we're all about. That's what we're all about for sure. What's that one thing that really drives you? I mean, there's got to be days, especially with being a promoter and doing everything that you do. There's some days that, I mean, I can't imagine where you just wake up and your phone's blowing up and somebody's backing out on you, or some venue's not working out, or you don't know if you're going to be able to pay the bill to catch that venue or to get that guy here. Well, what drives you every day to get up and say that you're going to be the best and you're going to make Big John's as big as it can be?
That's a good question, man. Half of it is I'm a little bit crazy. You know what I mean?
We all gotta be.
The way I was, like I said, man, I came from nothing, man. When I grew up, we were on the poor side of town. You know what I mean?
Too.
And we grew up in the inner cities, and then I moved up to northern Michigan, as a teenager. But we carried that work ethic, man. We came from nothing, and now we're starting to see the rewards of the hard work and the sweat and the tears and the sacrifices come into play. I mean, I'll tell you what, man. There's some days, man, that I don't even get to see my kids or my wife, or there's a lot of days on the road, and that's the kind of sacrifices, and I think a lot of the time what drives me, man, is to see how much we've put into it so far.
I get you
and
there.
How much we've changed people. I mean, dude, there's kids that we've changed, man, that I know would have been in the joint. They would have been in prison.
I can't agree with you more. I mean, doing coaching and everything like that, and I'm coaching junior A hockey now and being with these kids. I mean, there's a lot of them where if it wasn't for you, they'd be doing drugs, they'd be doing alcohol, they'd be in and out of jail and stuff like that. I mean, even more so with MMA, because I mean, obviously you come across some of the harder kids. You come across some of the kids that not everybody wants to take a punch to the face. So you come across some of those harder kids, and to be able to change those lives and everything like that.
Those are the guys that really have influenced me to do better, and I do. I got a lot of people that rely on us, and now that it's grown into such a company, that's what drives me, is knowing that the other families that are involved in this, that have a vested interest, and through this is how they make their living now, and so that drives me, man. That's a pretty good motivator, man.
Yeah, I get you there. I know what it's like.
We're not rich, man.
No.
We don't get paid $1 million.
No.
We're not Dana White. Dana, if you got some money for your boy Fat Big John, holler at me. But we're not rich. I mean, we're just now, like I said, we're getting to the point to where the rewards are starting to come off of the hard work, and there's a lot more hard work to do, man. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we're working on that we're going to make happen, and it's going to double the workload, man.
It's for what you love,
man. It's going to be worth it, brother.
Definitely.
For sure.
What out of all the shows and everything that you've done over the years, what is your all-time favorite? I mean, I know the first one that you ever put on had to have been definitely one for the memory bank, but out of all the ones you've put on and some of the awesome shows, I mean, I know I've had some of my boys and some of my friends that have fought in some of your organizations that love it, but by far, what's the favorite one? What's that one that sticks out to you that you're always going to remember?
My favorite show that I ever had, that I put together?
Yep.
Gosh, man. It would be my very first show in Midland, Michigan. We had, I think, about 1,500 people there. I think we had 22 fights inside the cage and 23 outside of it.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
It was the first time we'd ever been to that city, and this was back in the day, when it was still a lot rougher. People didn't really, now you go to an event, people know how to act because they probably had their ass kicked or something at the event. Guys, if you're coming to a mixed martial arts event, don't act stupid, because chances are there might be a black belt in the crowd that'll kick your behind. Okay, but that's that was one of my favorites. It was at that point, it was the pinnacle of my career, man. We never had a big show as that, and I just remember that feeling of going home and showing Mama what I made that night, and stuff like that. So it was a cool. That was the biggest so far, and then of course the second would be the December 1st show we had here. It was a great show.
It was a
that was one of my
show.
favorites.
Yeah,
and,
packed the house. Everybody loved it.
Yeah,
and there was probably 10 or 15 fights outside there too.
Yeah, I didn't see it. The eyes in the sky take care of that pretty much here, man.
That's the way it goes. You always
like
have
these security guys, man. They don't, you know, some of them look kind of big and out of shape, but they're ninjas, man. You know, when a problem starts, that problem's over all of a sudden. I don't know.
It's gone. With everything, I mean, you know, being a promoter and everything like that and everything that you do, I mean, you got to deal with guys on a regular basis. You got to deal with the guys that are having a rough day and come to you, Big John, you know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this fight and stuff like that. What's the toughest part about your job? I mean, outside of the fact of setting everything up and getting the venues and squaring away, I mean, especially when you deal with a facility like this, which is so big with Queen Casino and even all the small facilities, and the fact that on the side, you know, you got to deal with your fighters and the days that they're having and stuff like that. What's the toughest aspect of your job?
Dealing with my wife at the end of it.
Yeah, amen to that.
I ain't shitting you, man.
I love you, honey.
I'm not kidding you, man. I mean, you know, like I said, it's a lot of sacrifice, and those kids, you know, they all need help, and I'll answer the phone for any one of them at any time of the night, man, if I can hear it, you know. So there's a lot of mentoring that goes into some of these kids, man. You know, some of them they'll get into, you know, I thought this was a great fight, but man, now I'm thinking not, and they start getting into their own heads. So you almost got to turn into a kind of a counselor for a minute, man. Well, like, are you just scared, man, or you know, have you not been training? What's going on? Tell me what's happening. And then a lot of times it's something that's going on in their personal life that's affecting it. So you got to get to the root of it, get it squashed, and help them how you can. And you know, that's difficult. Taking calls at all hours of the night's difficult, you know, because there is a time at night where you have to shut off for the kids and stuff.
No,
but honestly, that's the toughest part of my job, is dealing with mama when I get home, man. You know what I mean?
I know. You being on the road and coming home, and you got the wife and the kids.
That's it. I mean, you know, it really takes a special woman, and my wife is a great woman, because, you know, a lot of women could not let their husband roll out for, you know, half of the year or more. You know what I mean? To these shows, bro.
I know
you
what
know,
you're saying.
on weekends to all over Hell's Half Acre, man. And I mean, that's awesome. You know, she's been very supportive, and you know, she's always told me never quit. There's been times, you know, that I've thought, you know, this is too much for me, man. This isn't what I signed up for originally, man. And then, you know, she's encouraged me, and then, you know, looking at the kids, and you know, you can't give it up, man.
No, definitely. You know? I mean, I can't agree with you more. That's one of the biggest things with coaching hockey. I mean, you see these kids and stuff like that, and, you know, there's been a lot of times where we've had, you know, rough years and stuff like that, and you're on the road, and you got long bus rides, and you're driving through the snowstorms. I mean, doing a lot of years in Michigan and those long trips, and when you get into that hotel and you're on the phone with the wife, and that's one of those things that really drives you, you know. One of those things that really drives me. I want to do the best I can to make her happy and support us.
Well, and you know, we're doing well now as a company, but it wasn't always that way, man. I mean, there was nights
hard knocks.
There were some nights that I took a loss and had to keep trucking, man. But I tell you, it's paying off, man. And you know, hopefully, by us making it, we can be a testament to some of these kids that if we can do it, bro, you can do it. I came from the worst place possible, man. My neighborhood as a kid was on cops 6 times, bro. You know what I mean? So, you know, if we can do it, anybody can do it, and that's another driving force. Is I do want to set a good example to let these guys know that, hey, if Big John, who came from the gutter, can get there, bro, you can do it. It's just a matter of if you're going to quit or not.
Definitely, and that's one of those things. I mean, like you said, you just got to go out there and you got to do it day in and day out, and you got your ups and you got your downs. Just a couple more questions here. What's your all-time favorite fighter? You know, like I said, going back, talking with Ricardo, going back all the way in the day and some of the greats back then, and what's your all-time favorite fighter?
I mean, I got a couple of them, man. Randy Couture is one of my favorites.
Oh, for sure. Classic.
Number one of my favorites.
Hall of Famer.
You know, as far as back in the day fighter, I'm going to have to say Ken, man. Ken Shamrock put on some, Don Fry put on some good wars, you know.
Shamrock came here for one.
There was a lot of good guys, man. I mean, I've always been a fan of the sport. Vitor, you know, he was the beast, man, when he came out, man, when he was 19 years old, knocking cats out. I love that, man. That's what really got me hooked. You know what I mean? So, you know, there was a ton of them. Dan Severin, who he's a good friend of mine today.
Before,
he's a good friend of mine. We still talk to this day. I mean, you know, some of those wars, man. That's what really started it out. These no holds bars, man. That's what really got us going.
The trenches to get this going.
I tell you what, man. Those guys, they're still paying for some of the wars that they put on for us back in the day, bro. And to get this, to pave this road. You know what I mean?
It was a
And
long
some
road.
of them, it's sad because some of them don't get the respect they should, bro.
No,
you know what
and
I mean?
you know, because it was back then. You know,
Yeah,
they didn't
man.
have the exposure. We didn't have the social media and in the places.
If
that
you
them
see
guys
Don
fought.
Fry or you see, Gracie, or you see Dan Severn, you shake that man's hand because he paved the way for you, man. He busted he took damage that he can't get rid of to put a road for you in mixed martial arts. If you're a fighter and you see those cats and you don't say something, you should be slapped. For real.
Definitely. And with that being said, I mean, with a lot of those guys that in the early years that paved the way and played at those chicken cages and those rough knocks and those long roadies and the no exposure, just to get these guys and give them the opportunities where they're at, what's one thing that, you know, you would like to see, or you would maybe think that in the near future could change in MMA to even broaden it even more? You know, I think it's basically mainstream right now, but what do you think could change to really to put it out there, to put it on the, I mean, you know, it's on TV on a regular basis, but to really put it on the market and get it into those areas where it's really not, you know, what do you think could change to blow it up even more?
What I see coming is I see Dana taking it super international, man. I see, right now we're big in the U.S. and Brazil and, a few different countries, Japan, stuff like that. MMA is real big in those countries, and it's starting to become bigger and bigger in Europe and Canada, of course. But, I just see it, I see him going to Brazil. I see him going to Africa. I see him really taking it worldwide, because what's the next step? I mean, what else can they do? Dana's doing it right, man. And I don't care. A lot of people talk a lot of crap about Dana, but that guy and his team, they're geniuses, bro. I mean, they're taking that money that they've earned through this. They started just like, I mean, they came in with a little bit of money, but they had a product that was failing, and they structured it, put it back together the right way. Structured it a little bit like boxing as far as weight class, things of that nature, and just blew it up, bro. Put the right amount of money behind it, and here we go, and so the next step for mixed martial arts, in my opinion, is to go even more worldwide and take it to a few places that haven't quite seen it yet. So, Dana, you're doing a hell of a job, brother. And if you need a fat brother, call me, man. I got you.
With that being said, with going the international route and everything like that, and so many of these big cities and these big high schools and these big colleges that have dominant wrestling programs and these colleges that have dominant wrestling programs, do you ever think that MMA will make that step into our youth where we're really giving them the opportunity in high school and college to start a route like that?
Like wrestling or stuff?
Yes.
Honestly, man, I think it's great that kids train and stuff at these gyms, the younger cats. I think that, going in and taking punches a little too young like that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
But, there is kickboxing. There's things that they can do to stay involved, point karate. There's all kinds of different things that they can do. Wrestling, don't get rid of wrestling. That's important. I'd rather have wrestling in the Olympics than MMA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At this point,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I like it. I think that it would be great to see something like that. But right now, I'd just be happy if they kept wrestling in the Olympics and stuff like that.
Definitely, it's a shame to take that out.
Give these wrestling programs at these schools something to shoot for and stuff like that. I think MMA is on a big enough level right now that it's cool if it goes that way, but I think if that goes that way, it could really hurt some other sports in the schools. It's just so popular,
definitely.
man. You know what I mean? And so I like where it's at right now. I think it could get bigger and things of that nature, but I wouldn't want to see it go so big to where a youth MMA program could overshadow a youth wrestling, or because those wrestling programs are fundamental in so many different ways and benefit children in so many different ways. I would hate to see something ever happen like that.
Definitely. Well, that's it for me here. Matt Parker with Quaking Casino and Big John Yeubanks from Big John MMA. We got an awesome fight going on here tonight. Everybody get down and check that out. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time and taking your fellas to speak with me. I greatly appreciate it. And the best of luck to you tonight and the rest of the year.
I appreciate you guys coming. Rumble on the Border 2, Friday, March 15th. Come check it out. I got people from all over the country, man. Vegas, Chicago, everywhere. Come check us out. We're kicking each other's ass.